I could bring her back to the senses. Get right into the sun. Maybe have a little fun on the side. On the side.
All right, welcome back to Unprofessional Fishing, a podcast hosted by Fish on Bass Anglers. I am Adam Simpson, and these are the two guys I brought with me today. So I got Logan. You've seen him before. This is our second go around here, so now we're professionals, unprofessionally professionals, I guess. But Shawn is our new man on the podcast for today. We're going to intro right into Shawn. How many years have you been in Fish on Bass Anglers?
FOBA, I started here 2019. Okay,
Yeah.
man. I got I think I fished like 5 tournaments that year, and was like, I'm never missing another one.
Yeah.
Then COVID hit, of course.
Yeah.
Then it was like we fished like the last 5 tournaments of the year.
Yeah, that year was odd. I think we canceled the ones at the beginning, and then we fished a season, but we didn't fish Angler of the Year. There was no placement. It was actually a really fun season. That was my first season as a boater, real boater, after I blew up my motor on my first boat. But it was a shortened season, but we still got out on the water. I mean,
Yeah.
even during COVID, so that was fun.
I think we couldn't have like groups of more than like 10 or 15 or 20 or whatever it was.
It was supposedly.
It was a setback.
Yeah. The Maryland ramps had different stipulations that we kind of showed up, and
Then you also had boaters that had want other people on their boat, getting them sick or had to wear masks and stuff. So it was a challenge.
Yeah, we didn't have an actual tournament, I think, till like September.
Yeah.
It was late.
we weren't allowed to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But a bunch of us went on that, the tournament dates, even though we didn't have a tournament, we just went. And
But we did fish the heck out of Black Hills though.
Yeah.
I think it was
Keep
like
it local.
I think it was open.
Yeah.
So little stats on Shawn here. Angler of the Year, you've done pretty well over the years. You were 3rd place in 2025, so this last year.
Yep.
You were 4th place in 2024. You were 3rd place in 2023, 4th place in 2022, and 2nd in 2021. So since joining the club in 2019, and you had 2020, which was an off year, you've done really well. I mean, you've placed really well, and I think that speaks to the consistency of you being at most of the tournaments.
Yeah, I think definitely fishing a majority of the tournaments definitely puts you up in the ranks. But you also have to fish well. I mean, it's not just showing up. You have to, be very consistent, I guess would be the greatest word for that. But just being on your stuff when you need to be. So
You've done well over the years so far. So that's why we invited you. We like the personalities from the club. We want to get everybody to see everybody who's in the club, and whether you're good or bad at fishing, it doesn't really matter. But
we all have our days we tank, right?
yeah, it happens.
Yes, well, definitely.
So what do you do for a day job?
Day job. I have a plumbing business.
Okay.
Yeah. So it keeps me very, very busy, which is half the reason why I decided to join FOBA. Early on in my career, where I started, I was working 7 days a week, man, and on call all the time. So it definitely took out of my regular life. And as I got older, I needed something. Because you know what? As a kid, we played baseball. We had sports. We did a lot of the things. I bowled. So you always had that group thing you did with people, right? And as you get older, I played softball and stuff, but that stuff starts to die off after a while. And it's like, what do you do next? Like you sit at home, you have kids, you do those kind of things with your kids and you enjoy that, but there's no more of that for yourself.
Yeah.
So I think people need to reach out and say, I go fishing on the weekends. Like, why not be a part of an organization?
Yeah.
So
it's funny, as you were saying that too, is I kind of got to this point where, so I did like CrossFit before, and I did sports all through college and all that. You miss that group atmosphere, and you look for something that's a little bit less stress on your body, right? So fishing still can be, but you have golf or you have fishing that you kind of fall into those buckets, and I'd rather be outside fishing than.
Yeah, I mean, you have golf and you have your buddy that you golf with or whatever it is, and you might play like a twosome or meet people in like a threesome or foursome, and it's not like a huge team event, right? So you don't really meet a lot of people. You have that one person, and if he's not available to play, what do you do? You know? So my buddy, who I was best friends growing in high school, his younger brother, Chris Hawkins, in case you want to know the name, we fished together, and we said, hey man, let's just join a club. So we were like, Germantown's local to us. We're Montgomery County. We were like, all right, let's do it. So, we just went in there and had no clue what to expect.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't know what to expect when they join a club. Sometimes I think they hear the word tournament and they're like, I'm not good enough to compete with these guys or anything like that. But it's not even tournament fishing, man. It's hanging out with everybody. It's like getting that thing you had as a kid more involved in your older life and growing with it. And I think that's where I literally, I got a grasp of that, and I was like, this is a new family.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing I can tell people when you're signing up, man. It's a family.
Yeah. Yeah. You're getting ahead of me here, because that's our next part that we're going into. But I want to make one more note before we move on from that. But I came up with this right before we got on here, right? You had the most interesting man in the world in those Dos Equis commercials back in the day. I've labeled you the most interesting man in FOBA at this point, because of some of the stories and some of the background and some of these facts that come out that I'm just like, yeah, that doesn't even surprise me anymore with you. So your uncle is Harry Wayne Casey,
Yeah,
who's better known as Casey from Casey and the Sunshine Band.
that's
right?
correct.
So, so you said you've been on stage, you've done a couple things.
Yeah.
That's got to be interesting.
I got to see a lot of things that most people don't get to see. It's having that iconic superstar being a part of your life and seeing that as you grow up. People don't really understand what that's like. To me, it's a normal person, and I don't see him as other people do when they see like their idol walk by or whatever, but I experience it from other people and just like see people pointing or saying, oh my God, hey, can I get autograph, take pictures? Like, it's really, I'm on the inside of that. So I don't get to see what most people see as like a star. And I get to meet a lot of people through him too. So it's like, to me, they're just regular people because that's what I've been used to my whole life. And yeah, man, growing up with that was awesome, amazing, and also scary at sometimes.
Certainly a different experience than normal.
Paparazzi wasn't, you see, everything now is social media, multi-stream and stuff like that. But I could tell you so many stories that would probably blow your guys' mind. Christmas shopping, they would have to shut down the malls for him to go shopping and stuff. And I remember being in limousines, pulling into the backstage, and people are rocking the car back and forth where it's literally bouncing, and it's like, you're such a young age, you don't know what's going on, and being yanked off the stage while you're dancing and stuff. Like, there was just things that, even going to school, I think there was a fear that kidnapping and stuff, that was like a big thing. So, he imposed a part of my life that keeps me going day by day, because there's not a place you can go and not hear his music. So he's always popping in here and there. It's even right now, if you scroll on Facebook, there's dances going on,
Or like the Instagram videos.
It's not, and skating rinks, and I send him videos all the time, and I'm sure a million people send him stuff too, but we laugh about it.
Right.
And it's pretty awesome to have a unique relationship with someone like that, and just,
Yeah.
he's very, very family oriented, takes us on trips and stuff. So it's really awesome to have that
Very cool.
part of my life. So.
Very cool. Well, like I said, the most interesting guy that we know. So nothing surprises me about Shawn anymore. So you kind of got into it a little bit. I wanted to give you the first kind of origin stories thing here with how you came to FOBA and how you joined. You said Chris Hawkins, who's also a great member of the club and a great fisherman too, joined with you. So you guys were looking for a club. I mean, did you go online? Like, how did you hear about FOBA to begin with?
Yeah, Chris was, man, I bet you he was 10 years old when he started fishing with me. I remember driving him to Black Hills, sitting in the middle of a, pickup truck and stuff with his brother. And, through the years, he got a boat and just started doing his own thing. And there was a time where we didn't hang out because he was much younger than I was and I was doing my own thing. And later in life, we just kind of reconnected because he was old enough that, he had his own boat and like we would fish, and I had my boat and stuff, and we would go and do things together. And I don't remember if it was him or me that basically brought up like, hey, we should join a club or something. But we had talked about it. And then I think he was the one that actually searched online and got back to me and was like, FOBA's local, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So we signed up and went to a meeting, and it was like weird. Like walking into the room and seeing all these people during the first meeting, it's very, intimidating, I guess would be the word you use, or, like you don't know what to expect. And then that first initial shock and awe was there, right? And then once the fishing started, everybody became so friendly. Like,
Yeah.
so once you got to know a few people, I think that intimidation level just kind of goes away.
Yeah.
And you realize that, there's fishermen of all different levels here, whether novice or intermediate or, just well seasoned or whatever it is.
Yeah. Not only are they there to fish against you or whatever, but in FOBA, primarily it's a teaching club. It's to whether or not you had the skills before you came in, like I did not. It's a great teaching opportunity for somebody that's been in the club for years and years and years to, teach you what they know. So
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even I am. Well, tell you if someone needs help, I'm probably going to be I don't know if I'm the first person, but I would help them with whatever they needed. Whether I even knew what I was doing, I would still offer a hand to help whoever it is, like whatever it be, whether it's changing a tire or help with their graphs or waterways or how do I get here, how do I get there. I mean, I'm going to raise my hand because everybody needs help.
yeah.
There's
And
people that are down on their luck or whatever it is, and they need that little boost.
Yeah.
I'm going to be that guy to
Yeah. Well, I think it's funny too, because you're probably not the only one in the club that's like that. I think a lot of people that gravitate towards this club and they find FOBA, they are like that too.
yeah.
And I think it just kind of is the theme of the whole club,
Absolutely.
which is pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Logan, we're going to go to you next because I know you've been in the club quite a while. We went over that before, but your origin story again. I mean, I've heard stories about you having a boat before you had a tow vehicle. Like, did you buy a boat first before you had a car to move it?
Yeah. So, I liked fishing when I was younger, but I'm not one of the guys that's like, oh, I was fishing since I was 2 years old or whatever, right? Like I had been fishing when I was younger. My parents would take me, um, but like, here and there, bluegill fishing, pond fishing, it wasn't serious. I got really like serious into like specifically bass fishing, like, middle school, high school kind of. And I was like, I like this style of fishing. And then it's like funny. So the first bass I ever caught, I caught it on my very first cast because,
It only goes downhill from there.
right. Yeah. So,
It's
but like a buddy moved in, a family friend, they moved and their new house had like a pond behind it. So we go back to this pond and we see these fish and we're like, let's try fishing. So my dad takes me to a tackle shop. He gets me set up with, stuff here and there, right? And we saw, I didn't know what they were at the time, but, sunfish and bluegill swimming around. And so we're looking at these little tiny fish. And so I'm like, well, these little tiny fish. And so, my dad fished when he was a kid, obviously. So he set me up with a few things. But the one thing that he was like, okay, try this first. And it was a little inline spinner. And he's like, you just cast it out and reel it in. And so we walked right up to the pond we walked up to the pond and I don't even think I stopped. I was like walking, and then just cast. And I just start reeling in and I didn't even know what happened, but I caught like I don't know how big it was, but it seemed gigantic to me.
Yeah.
It was like the first cast and just, it was jumping and I was completely 100% hooked 30 seconds in to like actually wanting to fish on my own.
Yeah.
So anyway, tried to fish as a kid and stuff like that. But like high school, when you start, I'm like 13, 14 years old. The internet is coming around then. And so I'm like online on, looking at stuff. And I was looking at all of the, I realized that there was fishing clubs, right? Because like I'd seen Bassmasters on TV, seen Bassmasters on TV, and I knew that tournaments existed, and then I realized like, oh, there's like clubs that do this, but they had to be 16, right? And so I knew that I was like, all right, well, when I turn 16, I'm going to join one of these like
That date circled on the
calendar, right? He did. No, I go, I did, right? And so
16th birthday.
yeah, and so like I had a John boat, like my uncle had this old duck boat. It was like from the 60s, like a 12-foot V hull. And so, I kind of was like, hey, I convinced him to let me drag it out of his backyard. And put the deck on. I got a trolling motor, and so I fished like Black Hills and stuff. Like my mom would drive me up there and drop me off. She would go to work and then pick me up on her way home from work. So I was getting into like specifically bass fishing, freshman, sophomore year of high school, but I'm looking around, AOL days, right? And like I said, they all said 16. Well, then I see somebody posted on the Maryland Bass Fishing, like the Maryland Bass Federation, like message board. Cause like back then message boards were huge. And I think it was Sam, but he posted, hey, we're starting a new fishing, we just started this fishing club. We're looking for members. And so I was like, okay, some link to some like GeoCities site from,
Old school, like,
right. So I go to the site, and it's, it's basic, early 2000s website, but I'm looking at the rules, and it's like minimum age to join 15.
Oh, you were like,
he got a year early,
like just turned 15. And I was like, I'm in. So like, I contacted them. I can't even remember who it was. They're probably still in the club now. It was probably Sam or somebody, but so I contacted them. I went to the meetings. We had the meetings at Galleons, which, now is Dick's there in the Rio, upstairs in the meeting room there. And I just like walked in, and to Shawn's point, you're intimidated walking in the room, but I was just a kid. And I think that those guys were terrified. They're like, oh crap, what are we going to do? There's a kid here now. Right.
we said 15, and then he showed up.
Like I found out the reason why it was 15 is because one of the members at the time wanted his son to fish in a tournament, and his son was 15, and they had originally done 16 because that's what everybody else does. But they had just started the club, and like, well, we can make it 15, so
right?
that your son can fish, and then they just left it. so that's how I got in.
So you got in by a loophole.
Right.
are you saying we need to improvise that?
Right. So, so I joined. I walked in, and they, to be honest, man, I look back now because those guys, and most of them are still around, and they're my best, some of my best friends, like you guys are.
Right.
But they're still around. And I look back, and I'm like, I mean, heck, I'm older than a lot of them are, but like I am now the age that like a lot of them were at the time. And it's like, man, I think about like how fortunate I was to find that group, because, that could have gone a bunch of different ways. They could have been like, we don't want this kid hanging, right? They were very welcoming. Like, I was 15, so I didn't have a driver's license, right? So like my mom, God bless her, she would drop me off at the like meeting point for these tournaments, like, Walmart parking lot or whatever. And I'd hop in the truck with these guys and like ride down to the boat ramp, and she'd pick me up in the afternoon. Right. But like, it just speaks to the caliber, like the quality, the group of people that we have since the beginning.
Yeah.
But like once I got on a bass boat the first time, I mean, I already loved fishing, but I mean, it was.
You were already saving money for a boat at that point.
As soon as I stepped on that bass boat, it was Scott Gavel was my first boater, and he had a brand new Stratus, and it was the first time that he had like taken it out in a tournament. And, at the time it was, top of the line, whatever. And we got in that thing, and he started going 70 miles an hour. And I was like, this has to happen.
That's it.
Yeah. So, no, so that, yeah, I wanted to fish as a boater, and not that there's anything wrong with being a co-angler, but like, that was my right then and there. So I fished as a co-angler for, the first year or so.
So you're 15 years old. What year
Yeah.
is this?
2001.
2001.
Yeah.
And you're still with FOBA today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that because of the people here.
He's got nothing better to do.
It's the best. Like it really is. And like, we could maybe get into like why a little bit later, but like it's just the tournaments are fun. I fished a lot of FOBA tournaments, but I fished a lot of other tournaments. I fished BFLs, I fished team tournaments. You name it, I've fished it at some point, and they're all fun. And I don't think I've ever really fished in what I would consider like a bad tournament trail. But it's just more fun in FOBA. Like it's more fun. The finances make more sense. It's your buddies. Like there's a reason, and there's a reason why, you joined in 2019 and you're at almost every turn. Like we get people that join, and there's a few people that might join and they're here for a year or whatever, and then they fade out, right? That obviously happens. But a lot of our members, it's like they join and they're here forever.
Yeah.
It's very rare that we get somebody in the club that makes it more than like a couple years that actually leaves, unless they move out of the area or something,
Yeah.
But yeah, so we, that like drive to, I need to get a boat started. So anyway, I worked a job in high school. I was a bicycle mechanic, which was very fortunate, that paid really well for a high school kid in the early 2000s. Saved up a bunch of money. I'm a, grimy teenager living at home. I don't have any bills, right? It's every single cent that I make goes into my pocket. But yeah, I saved up some money. My mom, again, God bless her, helped me out a little bit too. And I had this, I think I'm going to buy a boat. Like I'm just going to get this out of the way. And so I had to like borrow her Jeep and stuff for a while until I got, an old, beater truck of my own, which wasn't that long in between. But yeah, I mean, it was, as soon as I stepped on that boat and I started fishing those tournaments, and then from there, and it was just a little bass tracker with a 25 horse. It was not anything like what we see out there now as high school tournaments.
So most 15 and 16-year-olds save up to buy their first car, and save up to buy your first boat.
Yeah,
that's
Yeah, he did it a little backwards. That's right.
Yeah. Hey, how bad do you want to fish? Right. I'll tell you.
yeah. Well,
I'll ride the metro, but I got a boat in the garage.
And I mean, you guys are all boaters, like, like even when you're not in a tournament, just when you launch that boat and I don't know, maybe I'm over romanticized, but there's no better feeling when you launch that boat and you start going lake, river, wherever you're at. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So,
it's a feeling.
Yeah.
But so, yeah, I've been in FOBA. Yeah. I mean, ever since.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like my second family.
Yeah. Well, your guys' stories are way more romanticized and longer than mine is, but I mean, more power to you. That was great. So I joined FOBA in 2017, 2018, I believe. And
Seasoned.
I'm only a couple years beyond you, right? So I've only done it a couple years longer, but I grew up in New Hampshire. I came down here to go to college and grew up fishing just like you.
Yeah.
But when I came down here, it was, go to college, do that. You're in the city, you're close to DC. So in my mind, I was not thinking there was fishing down here. There was not good fishing. There was not fun fishing. And so I kind of gave it up for a while. And then I got to the point where, like you, I was like, well, if I could get a boat, then I could go out on the water, make it more accessible. So then I contemplated a kayak, and do I want to do this? And in my head, I was like, how's the easiest way that I get on a boat and I get to go fishing? And so I just searched like fishing on the internet, and it came up with fishing clubs. And I was like, okay, so there's a club for this. Like, not only is there a club for this, but there's a club in my area. So then there was like 3 options, right? And you guys probably know all the other options around here, but
Yeah.
I went to a couple of the other websites, and they were pretty Mickey Mouse websites, where I was like, all these guys got one jersey and they all wore it for the same picture. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, like this could be fun. Like, I don't know. And emailed 2 of them, I think it was, because I was like, these guys look okay. And then Fish on Bass Anglers had a good website. And Mark, who was the members coordinator at the time, emailed me back like immediately. And I was like, oh, this is great. So then I asked him, like, what do I do? I was like, I never fished a tournament before, never been on a boat before. And he's like, you pay the dues, you're in the club, you go on a boat with somebody else. And I'm like, perfect. Like, that's exactly what I was looking for. So then I came, and then when I joined, more to your point, when I came in, I didn't know these guys. I didn't know that talking to them later, they took photos of me at the first meeting, and I was so tired at that meeting that I like fell asleep at the meeting. And these guys got pictures of me saying, who the hell is this new guy? And why is he asleep at the first meeting he came to? Well, there's a reason behind that too. When I joined FOBA, like I wasn't in the best situation in my life either. Like I was doing some stuff that I shouldn't have been doing. And I got to the point where when I got in FOBA, it gave me the energy to go do that again. I missed all the team sports. I missed all that. And it gave me a good outlet to use my energy in. So I'm thankful to FOBA that I found it, because like you, like once you join it, you're in and it's family, like you said. So mine's not as, endearing or long-winded, but
it is.
it's still, it's cool. It's cool to find a group of people that you enjoy doing this with. And
man.
It's pretty cool.
The good thing is there's so much diversity.
True. And it's not that tough to get into, right? So the commitment for the year is $80. I mean, that's not a whole lot for the whole year. It's almost nothing. Each tournament is $30 to $40. So you're not coming out of pocket a whole lot there. In order to get through the season, so we have the 12 tournaments for the season, to get to the Classic, which is our large tournament at the end of the season, you have to attend 4 tournaments. You have to pay for and be in 4 tournaments of the 12, and you have to attend 4 meetings. Those meetings, they used to be in person 100%. Like when I first started, we were before COVID, 100% you come to the community center or something.
Yeah.
In Germantown, I think it was.
Yeah.
And then everybody after the meetings would go to dinner afterwards, or we would all get, drinks and food afterwards.
Yep.
We don't do that anymore. Unfortunately, they're virtual,
We still do that.
which I don't love. This brings me into my next point here, where you have decided to hold in-person meetings.
Yeah, man. When I first joined, it's just what you said. He had to show up to the meetings, and then went to dinner with the guys afterwards, and you sat down with people you didn't know, you met them, blah, blah, blah. And COVID hit, we shut that down, went to Zoom meetings, and I was like, there's people joining that don't meet people because of Zoom meetings. We need to bring that culture.
Or they don't want to be on a Zoom meeting.
Whatever it is. I mean, I get it. Making the Zoom, a lot of people can just sign right in, whether they're driving home from work or at home or can't make it in time or whatever it is. It is convenient, but I was like, we need to bring this live stuff back and give people that option, and especially new people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you're new,
Yeah.
you join in on Zoom, like
And you're seeing somebody's name at the bottom and maybe not even a camera.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I encourage any new people to come out, and I host at Mission Barbecue in Germantown, which is right off Century Boulevard. You could probably look it up, it's challenging there because there's a huge screen TV, and we have microphone issues and things like that. But afterwards, we sit down and we're BSing for the next half an hour to 45 minutes, along with eating barbecue. I mean, what's wrong with having some good barbecue and hanging out with guys? It gives some people a break from reality for that one day a month where they could just go, I need to get out of the house for an hour or two or whatever it is, because, I've been cooped up here, whether you're snowed in or whatever it is. But it gives you a reason to say, hey, man, I'm going to hang out with the guys, because we're not fishing right now. So you got November, December, January, February, March to go and hang out with some of those guys.
Yeah, and the off season is different. Like you said, there's a long off season that people, you get stir crazy and you want to get out there and fish again. At least you can talk to some guys that are in the same boat as you, no pun intended. But you host new people that come out, so you try to bring new people. You try to get people that haven't been or haven't heard of the club before. I mean, you're great at that in recruiting. Talk to some of the ways that you've done the recruiting for us, because I try to do a lot of it online, right? Through social media stuff like this. I run the Instagram page, he does the website. I help him with photography and stuff like that. But you're an in-person guy, and so am I. So, I mean,
Yeah, I've done a lot actually. Last year I set up a weekend at Bass Pro Shops, put up a stand, got to interact with a lot of people that, you hear the word FOBA, like, what is that, right? They don't know it stands for Fish on Bass Anglers. They don't know where to go. Like, again, if they're even outside of the Montgomery County area, they don't realize they can still join being, we have people live in Hagerstown, Baltimore, Virginia, even Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So the 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 wide reach that we could probably get is out there, and people hear the word FOBA, like, what is that? Like, they don't know what we're, allocated to a fishing group or a club or tournaments or anything like that. So I went and sat in a whole Saturday at Bass Pro, had a little stand. It was just pretty cool. You like walked in the front door, and as you're going right to the fishing department, there we were right in your face. So we had a lot of foot traffic. We had some people sign up that we got emailed and stuff like that. I also printed out flyers, just to give some bullets of like what to expect in a club, or, why would I want to join a club, or, is this for me? Things like that. Because again, you have that threshold of that intimidation where, like, I'm your average weekend or bank fisherman, right? And why would I want to join a tournament where I can't compete with these guys because they're on a whole different level? Nah,
Yeah.
nah, it
It's,
ain't like
it's
that.
just us.
It's literally, that's what we want. We want that
Right.
everyday bank fisherman to come, get that experience, understand what it's like to get on a boat maybe for your first time like you, or learn techniques that they never knew about, or why am I going and spending all this money on fishing equipment and I go and I can't catch anything? What am I doing wrong? Was it the time of the year, or wrong spots, or wrong time, or wrong lure, or presentation, or whatever it is? I think once you have a few of these days in the club and you start learning these techniques, or what people are throwing, or even colors or weights or whatever it is, or line, you start learning all these differences, and you go, now when I take my son out on the weekends, we actually catch fish.
Right. It
So
makes it more fun for everybody.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So again, I think once you implement, like by putting those flyers, those bullets to gain people's attention, just to even get to the website and see what it's about, I've left them windshield wipers.
I was going to say, one of my favorite stories, which we talked about last time, is when you meet somebody at a gas station and they're pulled up with their boat and they're getting ready to go fishing on the weekends. You're saying, hey, you're already going fishing.
Yeah.
Why don't you check out FOBA?
I could have been fishing with us.
Yeah, you could have been fishing with us in a tournament this
Like,
weekend.
I say, hey man, do you guys belong to a club? No. Here you go, man.
Yeah.
Call me. Here's my phone number.
Yeah.
I'll walk you through it, what to expect if you got any questions. Even if I'm on Facebook and someone's holding up a fish, I'll search where they're at. And if they're local, I'll send them a link.
Yeah.
Be like, hey man,
Yeah.
I don't know if you fish clubs, even if you fished FLWs or whatever it is, like, you could come to our club, be a part of our club, and still go fish those. You don't have to fish every tournament. There's
Right.
no priority to be here. Fish what you want. Fish as many or as little. Like, there's no commitment. We're not telling you gotta fish everything.
Yeah.
It's wide open.
Yeah.
Be a part of a family and still do those things.
Yeah.
Or maybe come here, be a part of a family, and then, go, hey man, there's actually some other opportunities. You guys want to come along, and now you have a whole bunch of people that travel with you to go to those other things, or go to Canada, or whatever it is. And, he's like, hey man, I met these people. They invited me. Matter of fact, you talked about Sam. Sam was the originator of this back in 1999. I think he started the club.
Yeah.
Sam and I have become good friends. They get a house on the hot side at Anna every January and every February. And for the past few years, I've been invited and been a part of that.
Yeah.
I would have never fished the hot side of
In
And-
January. Yeah.
January.
You get to break up that monotony of the cold weather.
And again, it was because of this club. I met them. His wife cooks us breakfast and dinners. I mean, we, of course we pitch in for whatever it costs to have the house, but it's like, you wouldn't meet those people if it wasn't for this organization.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that part of it is, I mean, it's the best, right? The relationships and the friendships that we have. Like, it's funny. So, I've had a boat for a long time, obviously, right? So my kids have grown up. Their dad's got a boat. And it's like a funny story I say is like, Wyatt was at his friend's house or something, when he was younger, maybe like 4 or 5 years old or whatever, right? He gone over to his friend's house to play. He comes back. We're like, oh, hey, we'll you have fun, whatever, whatever, whatever. And he's telling us a story. And he goes, yeah, but Dad, I didn't, where was their boat? They didn't have a boat. And we started laughing. We're like, what do you mean? It was like, well, Dad, you have a boat, and Joe has a boat, and Adam has a boat, and Sam has a boat. Like literally all of my friends have boats, and like he's come to tournaments and stuff, and it's like every single one of Dad's friends has a boat. And so then we had to have the, hey bud, that's not really
Not the
life,
norm.
but that's Dad's life, right? Like like literally every single person that I know is fishing related somehow. Most people. It's funny. And like you said, right? Like you take trips outside of the club with these guys, right? Like Shawn, you, Adam, like I mean, we were texting today, like about stuff not related to this, right? Like that's just life. And like, sometimes I'm like, driving home from a tournament or something. And I'm just kind of like, especially like if I don't have a good tournament, I'm in a bad mood. I'm just like, you know what, man? Like, life's pretty good, dude. I got like 30 good buddies. They're all bass fishermen. Like I think there's a lot of people, like a lot of bass fishermen. I don't think that they have that kind of like, I don't want to call it a network because that like implies that like there's, I don't know, some transactional whatever, right? So like, I don't think they have that sort of like bass fishing community, right? A lot of bass fishermen, I think, are on their own almost, right? Because it's not a mainstream activity, right? It's like your average guy, if he likes bass fishing, you go to work, there's nobody at work that bass fishes. You go, whatever. But to have that is it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So I tell you something that kind of what you were just saying, like people don't have that community that they have, right? So, I fished growing up as a kid, had my dad to go fish with. I lost my dad in 2004. But again, you lost that fishing buddy that I had, right?
Yeah.
And so I just kept fishing, right? And I'm on the weekends, and then I meet, other guys that fish too, right? So when you're out fishing on the weekends, you're casually fishing. It doesn't mean anything. You're relaxing, whether you catch anything or you don't catch anything, right? It's still an enjoyment. You're watching the sun come up, the sun go down, whatever it is. Then you join an organization like this, right? And then when you go fish on the weekends, now you're like, there's a purpose for me to be here, man. Whether it's like the competition level where you're like, man, I want to win, like I want to get out there. So now you're not just fishing for fun anymore. Now it's like, it's in your blood, right? Now you're bleeding this stuff. And it's like, what can I do to get over that hump to get better? Or, there's a purpose when I'm going out there on a Sunday or a Monday evening or whatever it is. It's completely changed the way I've thought about fishing because I've loved it so much that now I can't wait for the next tournament because, you're like, wow, where do I stand up against the competition, right?
Yeah.
Whether in reality too, I've been a very competitive person my whole life, whether it's football, baseball, soccer, chess, you name it. We've all grown up and sports has been a part of you. And whether you watch football, you want your team to win. It's that competitive nature that you have in your body, right? And I think fishing is the only sport that you don't know where you're at during the game, right?
Yeah.
Like bottom of the ninth, you need 2 runs to win or whatever it is, or you need 2 scores to win football, or you're down by 2 goals in soccer. You're out fishing on the water, right? You're there all day long and you're going, man, I'm having like a really bad day, man. This is terrible. And you get back to the boat ramp and guys are weighing in. You're going, holy, like I thought I was having a pitiful day.
Yeah.
Like, wow, I was having a great day in comparison to what these other guys.
Yep.
Or vice versa. You get to the weigh-in and you're like, I am having a crappy day. Why?
Yeah.
And here at the end, you're like, oh yeah, that's what they were throwing, or this is the area they were fishing. And now I can go back the next time and implement that and go, all right, this works here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
there is one other aspect too. So like we talk about the competition stuff a lot, right? There's another great thing. And this was actually told to me by one of my co-anglers once, that he loved fishing. He wasn't that competitive. He's like, dude, I don't care about the tournament. But he's like, you know what? He's like, because there's a tournament schedule, I can put that date on my calendar, and it kind of forces me to go, because otherwise, he had, some real busy job, or, so otherwise he wouldn't go, right? Because if it wasn't on the schedule, he'd be like, well, I could be doing other things this weekend or something. And so it's also, that's why I say, like, it's like the perfect competition level, because if you want the competition, it's a high level of competition, right? But at the same time, you're not like breaking your back to get into this. If you just want to use it as an excuse to get out and enjoy fishing, especially with other people that are into fishing too, it's a perfect perfect thing, right?
It's a good break from your normal
Yeah.
schedule. If you don't
Right.
schedule all of your time around fishing,
Yeah.
it's a good break from what you do normally during the day.
You know what's also good about that is, to your point, you put it on the calendar, right? You got people that are married, have wives, girlfriends. If it's on the calendar, the wives can book that date with their other, friends, and be like, you're gonna go fishing. I'm gonna hang out. We're gonna have a ladies' day, hang out at the spa, get the kids together, and do things. So it's not like, oh, the night before, like, I'm just gonna go fishing tomorrow, and now you got that family thing where it's like, oh, I had other plans, or
Yeah.
it's an aspect where it's like, hey, like,
Yeah.
you saw it on the fridge for 3 months now. I've been getting ready for the whole season.
Yeah. That's the cool thing about the demographics of the club too, is that everybody is different, right? We had 65 total members in 2025. Our largest membership, I believe, was 2021. It was 76. So the largest we've ever been is 76, and that's boaters and co-anglers. We had 70 in 2022. The cool thing is, though, I went back and I looked at 2016 and 2017, which is right before I joined, and we had 52 and 54 those years. So the club has grown quite a bit in the last couple of years, as fishing as a whole has grown, as well as in popularity as a sport. But I mean, we have people. You joined when you were 15. That's on the lower end of the scale.
Yeah.
But we have high school kids. I mean, we had Nick, right? Nick Pemberton, who went away and is now fishing in college.
Yep.
So he's one of those guys that left the club. Maybe he'll come back. But he's fishing in college as a sport, which is cool. We have guys, you mentioned a couple of them. I mean, Sam's a founding member. He's been with the club since 1999. Some of those guys are still with the club and still fishing. I think the majority of people are 30s and above, like late 30s and above. I think that would be normal. But yeah, a lot of guys use it as a way to get away from what they're currently doing. There's a ton of ways that we recruit these people, and whether you like fishing or whether you like this aspect or that aspect, it joins everybody together. It brings everybody together. So, the only other thing that I kind of wanted to get into today would be just the level of competition in FOBA as a whole. I mean, we went over some of your accolades at the beginning. You've done really well. We've gone over yours before. We know you're up there in the club as well. I'm the lower end of that in this
Don't
conversation.
put a label on yourself.
Because I can only go up from where I'm at.
Well, no, I don't know, man. I think you have your days where you really, really shine too. So
It's true. It happens. Blind squirrel,
another thing is, you hang out with, Logan. You guys share houses and stuff when you travel, so you get a lot of input. So
Right.
Don't put yourself below your standards, man. You're doing what you need to do, and I put you up there, man. You always had. I don't want to call you a dark horse, right?
Yeah.
But you can't never count you out,
Yeah.
right?
You can put me as somebody that may win the tournament, but I haven't found out what you guys have done so far and be consistent. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that I'm coming out of tournaments to take my kids to the ER and that type of stuff. And you being single, I'm sure you can hit more tournaments than I can. I actually looked at the standings this year, and one of my goals at the beginning of the season was to hit the top 10 in Angler of the Year. I think I was 11. I was like number 11 or number 12 this year, but I didn't fish enough tournaments to make it make sense to get me to that level, right? I fished 9 and you have to fish 10. So I missed one.
Well, you don't have to fish 10, right?
I mean,
So
you
even
don't
if
have to fish,
even if you
but
fish 11 or 12, we only take your best 10.
correct.
So
Correct.
yeah,
But I needed 10 in
tournaments.
order to get me into the top 10, which I didn't do, which is fine. My life is what it is and where I'm at. But we have a lot of people from different walks of life coming into it that like you said earlier, may have never fished before. Like me coming into the club, have never fished a tournament before. So it's not saying that the level of competition is up here and that's where we want to keep it. We want those guys coming in.
Definitely.
We want the co-anglers coming in. We want the guys that are going to turn over to boaters eventually. Like that's what we're looking for when you recruit or when you go out and do these things. So.
I've always had this motto in life, right? If you're not growing, you're dying. So I feel like if you're at that constant, right? Like if you're like, I can't get any better or I can't get any worse, and you're just stagnant, like how are you bettering yourself, right? I think if you just take that metaphor in life, right? If you just stay constant, like everything becomes very accustomed. It gets boring. It gets plain. There's nothing that spices it up or anything like that, right? It just becomes the norm, right?
And there's a lot of tie-ins from fishing to my normal life. Like,
Right.
I literally came here from an event for work, and I'm trying to do the same thing as we're doing right now. Like I recruit, I make networks, I make those connections. Like that's what I do in my real life. So when I get to do that on the weekends in something that I actually enjoy doing.
So implementing that passion.
Right. It's the same thing. And there's a lot of similarities on both sides there. Last thing I want to get into today is the Memorial Tournament. So you guys have fished in the Memorial Tournament before. I have as well. We do one per year. So the way it's set up is usually it's on Black Hill. So it's a local tournament. And if you could get into some of the history of the Memorial Tournament, just kind of let people know what that means to what we do.
Yeah. So the Memorial Tournament started, I want to say maybe 15 years ago, so around there. I might be off by a year or two, but basically, like we've talked about a lot, right? Like we're a close knit group. There's a lot of us, right? Well, at a certain point, as the club, progresses, and you have that many people, eventually you're gonna lose somebody. And that's what happened. We lost a member, Kenny Miller, and we lost him too soon. He had cancer. And he was a good friend to a lot of us. And, it was just kind of an idea. And I can't remember exactly who the first person that kind of thought of the idea, but it was almost like everybody kind of had the same idea at the same time almost. And, what can we do to, sort of, I don't know, remember or honor, our good friends, right? Like these are some of our best friends, right? And so we said, we'll have a memorial tournament, and Black Hills is not the most desirable destination, but it's kind of like our home lake, right?
Sure.
And so
Being the Germantown Club.
right. So it makes sense to do it there. So yeah, we have one tournament a year that we call, the memorial tournament. And it's you sort of, it's your standard, memorial we do a moment of silence, but really the thing is that it's not just Kenny, right? We've lost many members now, unfortunately. And so it's just a moment, like we're all friends. We take a moment to just kind of like, reflect like how lucky we are to be able to do this. That we have these good friends that are here and that care about us and stuff like that. And we make it a little bit special, right? Like whether it's somebody gets sandwiches for after the tournament or barbecue, or somebody grills, burgers and hot dogs or something. We figure out something to do like after the tournament, after the weigh-in. We all kind of stay around.
Sure.
And just hang out. It's not like a big, like, we're not doing like a sermon or anything like that, because those guys wouldn't have wanted that.
Right.
They'd want us to fish, talk about fishing and stuff like that. And so that's what we do.
Yeah. Well, the other cool thing that we've done recently with that too is the tournament's been put during the week. So whether it's a weekday, like a Wednesday or something like that, then you have the time. Like, I mean, if you're going to take the day off anyway, then you have the time afterwards, which I know you've helped out and you've done different, like the barbecue and the kind of post tournament drinks and food. Like I know you've helped out with that, but it then makes it a bigger thing than just a tournament. So
Yeah.
Same tournament rules. It's still one of our tournaments in our season, but it has a little bit more meaning.
Yeah.
And I know the fun part, like you said, about getting together with everybody afterwards, then it becomes a memorial. It becomes remembering everything.
Yeah, and there's a plaque.
Yeah, there is a trophy that you can win at the end. We used to do a big fish pot for it too. So, you know, it was $5 or $10 or whatever as like a side pot, and then it was biggest fish took all the cash home.
Yep.
We used to do the whole picnic because we do it on the weekends, and then families could come and whatever. But I mean, this again, it's a great way to memorialize the people that we have lost,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, we did lose somebody this year too. So, you know, it just takes a little bit extra meaning into a tournament, and again, makes it more real. It makes it more a part of family and more a part of everyday life. So. But that's kind of it for this episode. Again, Unprofessional Fishing with Fish on Bass Anglers. I want to thank Logan for being here again. Thank Shawn for coming in, and thank Tycoon Media Lounge for hosting us inside this wonderful studio with all of our knickknacks up and around and trophies. So that's it for our episode, and go from there. See you next time.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Cool.